Hey everyone, this is the artist review of the Lenovo P11 Pro tablet and the Precision Pen 2. So this video is going to be a bit long as usual. If you want to save time, check out the text review through the link that I provided in the video description below, or use the timestamps to jump to different sections of this video. The tablet I bought online is probably the version for retail stores in China, and that explains why there are Chinese words here on the product photo and also on the manual. Anyway, the tablet comes with global firmware or global ROM, so Android 10, which is running on this tablet. It's in English. This is the USB wall charger with double flat pin, USB type A to USB-C cable. All these are still red because I'm using my old charger and cable. This is USB type C to 3.5mm audio jack adapter. Pin for the micro SD card slot. The Lenovo Precision Pen 2 is sold separately. I bought this as a bundle together with the tablet and paid an extra $50 for this. This is an active stylus that supports WGP, which I have no idea what it is. It also supports AES 2.0, that's Wacom electrostatic technology. This pen comes with a hexagonal design, which is really comfortable to hold. The build quality is excellent because the whole body is made of metal. There are two side buttons here, and on the back you can remove the piece of rubber behind to find a USB-C charging port. Battery life is rated to last for at least 100 hours. The pen supports tilt sensitivity as well as slightly over 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. The pen tip has a tapered design. There is minimal movement with the pen tip, and any movement you see is the lateral type of movement, not the in-out movement. I'm not sure if you can see the tip of the tip, but there is this matte coating or finishing on it. This is the silicone pen case for the pen. It's flexible, it fits the pen perfectly, and I don't think the pen will drop out easily. On the back there is this double side tape that you can use to stick to the back of the tablet case, or this piece of plastic that is provided. So there's this hole here where you can probably run a keychain to it. There is only one replacement pen tip included. At the time of this video, I wasn't able to find where else this is sold online. The pen tip glides quite smoothly on glass, so hopefully this pen tip can last for a long time. The difficulty of finding replacement pen tips to buy online can be a problem in the future if you need to replace the tip. The last accessory I bought is this magnetic slim case. So there are magnets to wick the tablet and magnets here to snap the tablet to the back. It's a very slim case, very stylish, but the downside is it doesn't protect the side. So if you knock the tablet against hard surfaces, it's going to create dents. I have an iPad Pro that uses a very similar case, and the iPad Pro has a lot of dents, knocks on the side. This is very convenient, but I would probably recommend you get a case that protects all the sides. There are two models for the Lenovo P11. There is the P11 and this is the P11 Pro with the better specs. Official retail price for this starts at $499 for 4 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. This particular model comes with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. That is $550 but the price can vary depending on where and who you buy the tablet from. So if you buy this, for example, from AliExpress, you are going to get at least a $70 discount off all the different tablet models and bundles. But AliExpress is from China, so I'm not sure how the international warranty will work. Alright, so this tablet, the P11 Pro, it looks really good. This is an 11.5-inch AMOLED display, so you can see the colors are really vibrant. According to Lenovo, the maximum brightness for this OLED display is up to 350 nits. Now it's running at maximum brightness. It looks really bright to me, and the colors really look terrific out of the box. The tablet is very slim. bezels very thin. Two cameras here at the top for face recognition, which does not work very well. Actually, it doesn't work most of the time. There is the power button here, which also acts as a fingerprint sensor. Thankfully, the fingerprint sensor works much better. So on the side here, we have the two speaker grills as well as here. So you get four-way speakers. The audio quality is fantastic. On the side here, we have the micro SD card slot for expandable storage. As far as I know, there is no LTE model, so it's just a Wi-Fi model. The design of this tablet really looks very nice. It's very beautiful. On the back, we have this matte surface metal body. Two cameras, one standard, one ultra wide. The logo is there. USB-C charging port featuring USB 3.2 speeds. The weight of the tablet is good, 485 grams, which is very appropriate for a tablet this size. If you want to hold it with one hand, together with the case and drawer while you're outdoors, definitely no issues at all. This 11.5-inch display has a resolution of 2560 by 1600, so it's a sharp display. User elements like icons and text, they will look quite sharp, but the display matrix is actually pen-tailed, so with fonts there is this little bit of fuzziness. This is the Samsung Tab S7 Plus, which has the same resolution as the P11 Pro. When I compare the two tablets side by side, yes, I can see the text here, they are sharper. But the thing with this is the pixel density is quite high, so the text is still sharp, just that this is sharper. The processor in this tablet is the Snapdragon 730G, which is supposed to be faster compared to the Samsung Tab S6 Lite, but slower compared to the Tab S6 and noticeably slower compared to the Tab S7 and S7 Plus. You may notice the speed difference depending on what you are doing. I mean, for drawing purposes, probably the speed difference is not that noticeable, but I'll talk more about that later on. The OS is Android 10. There are two downsides to this AMOLED display. The first downside is when you are scrolling with the tablet in portrait orientation, you can see this wobbly effect, and this only happens in portrait orientation, not in landscape orientation for some reason. The other downside is this is OLED, which has PWM, pulse wave modulation. I've adjusted the settings of my camera to show you the flicker of PWM. Now in real life, personally, I'm not able to see the flicker, but some people have more sensitive eyes and can notice the flicker, so that's something to take note of. Another downside to this OLED display is there can be image retention issues under certain circumstances. So for example, here I have a black and white line art on white canvas, and the background of this app is actually dark gray. So when I close this file, this line art will be retained on the dark gray background. My camera may not be able to capture the image retention, so let me show you a photo instead. This photo has been enhanced to increase the contrast, and this is how it looks like, how the image retention looks like. The image retention is not obvious, but you can see it if you are looking for it. Now, if you are browsing web pages where the text is black against white, just like this, you are actually not going to see any image retention because you are not switching the background color. Having said that, I will not be surprised if there are going to be any OLED burn-in issues with this tablet in the future. This is my typical drawing setup with a tablet. So right now I have the tablet on the Pablo PR100 stand. This stand allows me to adjust the angle very easily. This is how it looks on the back. The flip case is not going to be able to prop up the tablet. Okay, now for some drawing test. The app I'm using is Clip Studio Paint. Now this is an active stylus, so when you hover the pen tip above the display, you can see the cursor. This is a laminated display, so the gap between the pen tip and the display or the line beneath, that gap is very small. There is no parallax, so the cursor is always directly beneath the pen tip. But you do notice input lag. That's just the way it is with 60 Hz display. The input lag is more obvious when you draw fast. With my typical drawing speed, the input lag is still there, but it doesn't really affect my drawing. Let's do some slow diagonal line test to see if there is any jitter. So this is not bad. Tablets from many years ago will produce wobbly lines, so here the lines are quite straight. I don't do the ruler test because I don't draw with rulers. So this is actually pretty good. Pressure sensitivity works really well. This is how thick that brush really is. So you can change the thickness of the line just by varying the pressure. And here you can see as the line turns, the turn is very smooth. And the transition from thin to thick, it's also very smooth. There is no wobble. Now I'm trying to maintain consistent pressure to get a line with uniform thickness. And yes, I'm able to maintain consistent pressure very easily. This is how the lines taper. So you can taper quite nicely. And now I'm using Autodesk Sketchbook to show you tilt sensitivity. So the transition from thin to thick, it's very smooth. And here you can see the brush cursor following the direction of the pen. With Concepts, this app supports tilt as well, but the transition from thin to thick, as you can see, is quite abrupt. The pen performance and functionality will depend a lot on the apps you use. So for example, with Medibank Paint Pro, here the input lag is even more noticeable compared to Autodesk Sketchbook and Clip Studio Paint. If you need to customize the pen pressure or customize the shortcut buttons, you have to use an app that allows you to do so. So for example, with Clip Studio Paint, they do allow you to customize pen pressure. Android 10 does not have the functionality for you to customize the pressure curve. The shortcut from the pen buttons will vary depending on the apps you use. When I press the button closer to the pen tip, I can erase. If I press the same button with Medibank Paint Pro, it uses the eyedropper tool. And when I press the other button, oops, it goes into the home page. Sometimes I press that button accidentally, so when I'm drawing, it goes to the home page. It's quite irritating. And there is no way to turn the buttons off, and many drawing apps do not allow you to customize the buttons. Default palm rejection is provided by the pen, but if you want perfect palm rejection, you have to turn on strict palm rejection. And that feature goes by many different names. With Clip Studio, you have to uncheck Use Tools with Finger. With Concepts, you can have your finger draw with the Active tool or do something else. So for example, with this app, Wacom Bamboo Paper, an app that I use to take notes, I can place my palm on the display, and sometimes I introduce straight strokes. I can draw with my finger. So if you turn on strict palm rejection, now the app, the tablet only takes pen input. I can draw with my finger. I can place my palm on the display. Nothing will happen, but when I use the pen, I can draw and write. And now let's draw something while I talk more about the drawing experience. This app that I'm using, this is Concepts. This is actually a vector drawing app. This happens to be one of my favorite drawing apps on Android and also on the iPad because it's really easy to use. You can see wobble That's just the way it is with this particular app. This app has more wobble and more waviness to the line thickness compared to other drawing apps. Later on, when I show you Clip Studio Paint, you can see just how smooth those lines are. But here with Concepts, when I try to maintain consistent pressure, sometimes you can still see the thickness of the line, it will wobble. Despite all that, I still enjoy drawing with this app because I like the looseness of the look it can create. This is a vector app, so it doesn't really use up a lot of resources. So overall performance, it's really smooth. The pen tip will provide slight friction, and by slight friction I mean it's enough to make the pen tip not feel like it's very slippery. The pen tip still glides along on the surface very easily. When it comes to navigation, like pan, zoom and rotate, the performance is quite fluid. But if you compare it with the Samsung Tab S7 Plus or S7, you'll notice that you get even better performance there. The navigation controls are going to be more fluid. You'll notice that if you compare the two tablets side by side, but right now when I'm drawing on this tablet without comparing, overall experience is very good. And now let's color this. The downside for this app, the downside for Concepts is there is no fill bucket tool, so I won't be able to click on the enclosed shapes to color quickly. Now I'm going to add the shadows very quickly. So this is a very stylized, cartoony sketch. Overall drawing performance is very fluid. I did not experience any glitches. So you can see when it comes to zooming in, it's okay. Now when it zooms out, you can see those white boxes. But even on the Samsung Tab S7, you get that. When it comes to panning, there is this split-second delay before the canvas actually moves. On the Tab S7 or S7 Plus, there is no split-second delay. That is the only main thing I noticed. But otherwise, the drawing performance, the drawing experience is very similar to what you can get on the more expensive Samsung Tab S7. Here's another sketch that I drew yesterday. This sketch has more layers and some textures, but it's still basically line art with flat colors, so it doesn't really take up a lot of resources. This tablet has 6 gigs of RAM. Overall performance when it comes to drawing and doing other things like checking email, surfing the web, social media, all that performance is quite smooth. If you have the budget, I do recommend you get 6 gigs of RAM rather than 4 gigs so that multitasking will be more fluid. Now this app, Clip Studio Paint, this is actually the same version as the desktop. So the user interface elements, the shortcuts, the button placements, all that is the same, just that now it's available on Android. The downside is all these buttons are kind of small. They are not really designed for a finger, so if you want to click on things accurately, you have to be a bit more careful. Alright, so the performance here is exactly the same as the desktop version, which is great. There are shortcut buttons that you can customize to make your workflow easier, but it is still best to use a keyboard. So you can pair a Bluetooth keyboard with this app, and there you will have access to all the keyboard shortcuts. Notice here when I try to zoom, nothing happens. That's because this app is glitching out. So let me see what, okay. So sometimes when I'm working with Clip Studio, it will glitch, like it will just stop working. Okay, let me just zoom in for you to see how sensitive the pen is. So I can draw thin lines really easily, and this is how thick that brush really is. Performance here, the line quality that you get here is much better compared to concepts. Here the lines, they are able to come out just the way I expect them to most of the time. And you can see the lines, they don't have that wobble that you saw earlier with concepts. Notice again the glitch, but for some reason I can still go to the menu and notice that straight line there. So in order for me to reset the glitch, I have to go to the menu or go somewhere else to reset. The pen is really sensitive and the navigation is pretty fluid. Very smooth. Oops, what happened there? Oops. Let me draw that again. So that happens occasionally. So when I try to draw, sometimes for some reason, I accidentally undo. So undo is the double finger tap, and sometimes that happens. I'm not sure why. It can be quite irritating. Coloring using the fill bucket is so much easier. Adding the shadows. So the drawing experience with Clip Studio is not the best with the occasional freeze, but the line quality you get with Clip Studio, it's fantastic. You know what? Let me just quickly draw the same canvas shoe again, this time with Medibank Paint Pro, to see if I have the same issue with the glitches. So this is going to be like a really quick sketch. Medibank Paint Pro has noticeable input lag, but I mean with normal drawing speed, the input lag should be manageable. So here, the side button shortcut is actually eyedropper, so I cannot use the eraser. I did not experience any freeze with Medibank Paint Pro and also with Concept, so it could be just an issue with Clip Studio Paint. Battery life for this tablet is quite good. I've used this for 3 hours at maximum brightness and the battery life depleted 50%. So if you draw non-stop at 100% brightness, you can get at least 6 hours of use. If you're just using the tablet for surfing the web, checking emails, social media, you can get 10 hours easily. And after using this for almost 3 hours, the tablet is slightly warm, mostly towards the bottom part here, but I definitely have no problem resting my palm on it to draw for long periods of time. Overall, I'm quite satisfied with the drawing performance and experience I get from this tablet. The main issues I have with this is actually with Clip Studio and the occasional freezes that happen too frequently for my liking. And also there is this thing with the tablet detecting my finger gestures inaccurately. So sometimes when I am not double tapping to undo, it undoes. Sometimes when I'm not rotating the canvas will rotate slightly. But that happens at random, less frequently compared to the Clip Studio issue, thankfully. Hopefully Clip Studio can get an update in the future that actually solves that problem, because I don't experience that problem with the Samsung Tab S7 Plus. But on the Samsung Tab S7 Plus, I have issues with Medibank Paint Pro zooming into random areas randomly, but I don't have that Medibank Paint Pro problem here with this tablet. So the overall drawing experience really have to depend on the apps that you use. The general performance of this tablet is quite fluid. Apps open fast, files they save fast, switching between tabs, switching between apps, all those things happen very smooth. So this is a tablet I can recommend easily for those who want to get a tablet with OLED display at a more reasonable price. Now there is the Lenovo P11, which is smaller, the display size is smaller, the resolution is lower, the specs are not as good, only has 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. And the processor is also not as fast. Now the P11 non-Pro competes directly with the Samsung Tab S6 Lite. So between the two, you can just choose based on your budget. I probably recommend Tab S6 Lite because you can get replacement tips for the S Pen easily. And talking about replacement tips, right now it's very difficult to find replacement tips for the Lenovo Precision Pen 2. Alright, I hope this review is helpful and informative enough for you. If you guys have any questions regarding this tablet and the drawing performance, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye.